There we
Hey,
are.
we'll trying to get this going now. Let's see, go live.
Last meeting, so I use my phone, and on my phone I only see one person in front of me, whoever's talking. And so I'm just sitting there, I'm eating, and I'm like, oh, watching, and I didn't realize that on Facebook it was showing everyone who had their videos on. So I saw a clip after, and I'm just in the bottom corner eating my fucking sandwich the whole time. So I went ahead and I ate earlier. So
Uh,
Yeah,
hey,
but here's
all that matters is,
for the sandwich content.
it was a good sandwich.
that's
I
all that
think that's
matters,
what
man.
matters.
Yep. How's your week been?
It's been really slow this week because I didn't realize until last night my ads have been disabled since last Friday. There was some kind of an issue. My card wasn't on file, which is really weird because I mean it's been on file for the past year, but it wasn't there. I don't know. The person who runs my ads didn't notice.
You guys
That's
have
a
ads?
story for another time, but it
Man,
impacted my business greatly. I was actually very surprised.
that sucks. Tony over there talking on six phones. He's muted though. He forgets he's muted.
I hear you. I hear you. Wait, I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna talk six on each side.
There you go. There you go.
What's happening, everyone?
Not too much. Just got started actually. I was a little bit behind.
I got no game in the console, but might as well. I like to see myself on the camera. That's all.
Yeah, that's all right.
I always love to see Mr. Tony Baker on the camera.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Trying to finally got my hair cut, so I'm looking
Hey,
all
so did
fresh.
I. I got mine cut this week too.
Yeah,
Much overdue.
it is. It is. Oh no, I usually do it a week, but recently I've been just skipping a week or so.
I'm like a once every 2 months kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to look. I get white hair here, so I try to. So every time I get a haircut, I go back 10 years younger because that white hair goes away. But
Trying to shave it
for
out.
now, for now, eventually it's gonna go out of control, and
One of
we'll
these
have
days,
to
I'm
move
going to get
Happens.
that Benjamin Rousseau, Pidgeotto haircut.
That is definitely the way to go.
eventually we'll give up. We'll give up to it. We'll agree that we're knocking on 40s, so it'll be all right.
That's funny. I
Yeah.
figure we'll give a few minutes to see if anybody else wants to join. Let some people hop on live since I started late. Um, I think Steve was gonna join too. He was waiting for me, and then looks like it's my fault.
Did you see the sponsor on the discussion page? I made
The
a
what?
post on the I made a post on the discussion.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
even see it.
I said brought to you by Holy Fry. I think it's right here.
I'm gonna have to stop by next time I'm in the Tampa area.
It's good food, man.
I
You should
saw
have
the pictures. Oh my God, looks good. Oh, dude, stop it.
you should
Yeah, when
update
you were,
that picture on top. You should update
yeah,
this,
there we go.
Josh.
Send it to me. When you were showing me when we were at dinner that night, it was like making me hungrier.
Yeah, it's good food. I ain't gonna lie. We got almost 5 stars. Really good food.
Looks good.
You should cater the Gadget Repair Expo in Miami. Oh, he's on the
There you
phone.
go.
If they come to Tampa, I will.
All right. Send out some last minute messages here to let people know we are on. Funny, actually, the guy that wanted to have it isn't even here either.
Talking about Carl?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was talking to Carl the other day or like a week ago about consoles. And I'm like, why do you have so I'm like, wait, like, how do you have so many damn Nintendos in your inventory? He's like, brother, do I have a story for you? And I was like, all right. Well, he's like, I'm gonna talk to Josh. I'm like, hell yeah.
yeah, no,
That
and
crap
here
ton
he
of
is. That's
Nintendo
funny.
nostalgic. I started thinking back to the like Super Nintendo days, and I was like, oh my gosh.
What's up,
You should
John?
see my back room. I have so many broken ones I need to fix.
Oh,
Dang.
Josh,
And we got three
this
people.
one. I still have a box of broken switches from Leonard.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. We actually have a guy in Australia in here right now. Look at this crazy guy, Josiah, trying to show off with his time zone difference here.
I think everybody has an honorary Matthew Leonard pile somewhere in their shop.
I
Yes.
never had the
Hey,
pleasure of dealing with them.
Have
that's
you
where
like
Not
all
me,
I got
bro.
16
Not me.
iPads left that I got from him.
you
Not me.
I've got some iPads.
The iPad's actually pretty decent. I ain't gonna lie.
that's where
You know
all
how
that
many
battery
messages I
sand
got
that
in
I
my
have.
how many messages I got in my messenger of him saying, "Hey, I got 50 of this. Let's close a deal." I said, "I'll look into it. I'll look into it. I'll look into it. Thanks for reaching out. Thanks for reaching out." That's all. Like for the past years, like maybe 4 years, 5 years,
Jeez.
just never felt. Sometimes it's when it's too good to be true. It's too good to be true.
Yeah.
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 It's just I
You know,
never felt those elevator pictures and those 15th floor living like you know Tate and whatever and living the American dream. It just
dude, when he after everything happened, that couch that he slept on in my house, I burned it. So
He slept on your couch?
yeah, he stayed in my house like 3 years ago,
Oh,
four
no
years.
shit.
what
Where,
are you
why was
doing,
he
Tony?
out there?
I know why Tony.
I think my wife wouldn't approve. I think
Yeah, we know Tony.
he had a layover and then his flight got delayed until like the next day. And I was like, "Oh shoot, you're like 20 minutes." I'm like 20 minutes away. I'm like, "Come on over, whatever. We'll chat."
Yeah.
But
The rest is
nothing's
history.
missing from the house, so I mean that there's that much.
Yeah.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
I think
You know,
everybody's pretty much on. That's
our
going to be
industry is
on.
probably one of the ones you can make so much money and so fast, man. I just don't know how people could just get sidetracked.
Shiny object syndrome, Tony. Shiny object
Uh,
syndrome.
yeah, yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Well,
of Tonys on this call.
oh, there's Jason.
We're still not live, right, in the group, right?
We are. Yeah, we are. We
Okay.
most certainly are.
How the hell are you supposed to turn up the volume, man?
You sound fine.
No, I'm saying for me, so I can hear you guys better.
There should be a button on your keyboard that looks like a speaker.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that.
Man.
You heard that just fine.
All right, well, I guess we've got at least two people on here, despite Carl, the guy who wanted to have this conversation in the first place, isn't here, but it's his loss. So maybe he'll pay me for the recording. Uh, so anyways, it looks like Tony and Steve are the two guys that stepped up in the post there, big console people, it looks like. So kind of just wanted to hear some, feedback from you guys on whether it's, how do you guys acquire consoles, whether it's just Facebook Marketplace or what do you see more volume with that than you do other things, or just kind of anything that'll help other shops that maybe just kind of avoid consoles or don't sell them at all and want to see the benefits of, expanding.
You want to go first, Tony?
Sure. Um, so Facebook Marketplace can be a good spot to get consoles and games. There's a lot of competition when you source that way because every idiot with an eBay account thinks they can flip, video games. It's definitely a good thing to sell in your shop. People coming in looking for electronics, anyways. Especially if you offer repairs for it. We're primarily a video game store. We added repairs after we were already open. But just, running traditional ads, like social media, making posts, having a sign up in your store, having inventory definitely increases the word of mouth and the likelihood that someone's going to be like, "Oh, do you buy this?" Um, when it comes to getting your first batch of inventory, if you're like wanting to bring in a selection, there are a few distributors, but when it comes to like new, I honestly recommend against it. With new games, you are paying, $60 to sell it for 70, or you're paying 51 to sell it for 60. The margins are just awful. But if it's like the newest Call of Duty, then that can get people in, and then you can advertise your repair services or that you buy things and get trades. But eBay can be a good spot buying broken things and fixing them, creating competition for myself here because I do that a lot with controllers. Um, but yeah, buying things broken and fixing them is great. Regular advertising is great. Really just making posts, going to garage sales, especially if there's like a community yard sale in your area that the city puts on. You can just go to a booth and then make a deal to buy everything, have a selection, make a post, and it kind of goes on its own from there. But that's my recommendations for sourcing the product.
Pretty solid. Uh, pretty solid. So the way we source is a lot of what you just said aligns a lot with that. Um, one of my secrets, I'll go ahead and give it to you guys, but one of my secrets for sourcing things, you have to pay a pretty hefty shipping fee most of the time and a handling fee. But shop Goodwill. So what they tend to do is Goodwill will send like they'll actually have a bunch of consoles up for auction that are they just have small elements wrong with them. Some just operate completely fine, and you just got to take a shot in the dark with purchasing those things. It's a lot better than those people that try to flip the pallets and stuff off of Amazon. It's not that big of a risk as long as you know how to repair stuff. Sometimes you'll get like an APU issue or something like that, but I mean it's not that common. But Shop Goodwill is pretty much how I started my entire uh, my stock really, and then trading is a big thing. So some people they just don't want to invest in their PS4 that they have, and they just want to get a fresh new one. But my thing is, I have a very very strong hold on quality control. So before any console hits my floor, I make sure that all the problems are resolved with it. It reads a disc. There's not one speck of dust on the inside. I give it a full tune-up. I replace the thermal compound. I give it all its updates. I put the hard drive through a stress test on my computer here. I make sure that it has a good health on it. Um, and then I include one controller charger, HDMI cable or AV cable with it, and the power cable. Everything they're going to need to just take it home, plug it in, and have fun. And everything that I sell comes with a 90-day warranty for any kind of natural malfunction. So I do all that, and then I also give them a 90-day warranty on top of that, just in case. And then just to put the cherry on top, my library out there on my floor it's grown so much since I started this thing, and I give them $20 worth of games or accessories, whatever they want to find. out there and whatever they want to include with it. It's $20 free. Go pick yourself out 2 games for $10. It's yours. Have at it. And give them the 90-day warranty, and that gives them the warm and fuzzy to actually come back and be a repeat customer. And nowadays, I feel like people are starting to they have that hunger for nostalgia, so they want to come back and build their library and do more business with me, and they know that I have that warranty, and it's just I have completely crushed all of my local, if you want to call them like competition, but it's just that tune up. The tune ups before they hit your floor, you absolutely need to clean these things out and get them ready for someone else to enjoy them, and be very, very strong on your quality control. It starts there in your shop. You have to have a strong quality control. If you don't have a good product, you're not going to move anything, and you're going to have a bunch of upset people. My Google reviews, they speak for themselves, and I pride myself on quality control for sure.
Yeah, that I agree with everything you just said. Quality control is huge. When they buy the product, they want to be able to use it. So making sure that when you sell it, it includes the cords, a good controller, having some games available. You don't have to include games. That is a good, sales pitch. But having everything they need to take it home and use it is super important. And yeah, giving them a nice, little refurbishment, clean it up inside and out. It speaks a lot to customers when the thing looks clean and fresh, and you have the ability to say, hey, I ripped this thing apart, cleaned it inside and out, we gave it a full test. My company does the same thing. We don't do a full stress test on every model. There are, some retro things you really don't have to do, like, the whole nine yards, but like PlayStation 4 is absolutely anything new enough that you need to update the hard drive, or has a hard drive, needs a stress test. But yeah, the quality goes a long way, and I'm not surprised that you're saying that separates you from your competitors, because a lot of people are lazy. They're just going to grab it, they're going to throw it on the shelf and be like, all right, it'll sell. And it's like, well, clean the thing and it's going to sell way faster.
Yeah. Another way that I source my stuff, believe it or not, if you have any Cash Americas in your area, um, you need to learn how to read those labels, the price tags, because they have what's called a decay date. So you can see the main dollar sign, right? So the main dollar sign is going to be there, say it's 150, right, on the shelf. Now they're going to have 3 or 4 lines down below that in smaller print, and they're going to have dates. So say, we're in November, and that date is 150, right? And then if they have the date down below that says 09/01/2024, and it says $100, that means by that date, they have to sell it for that much. So just read those tags at your Cash America. And if that decay date, if they did not update their tag, by law, they have to sell it for what it is down below. So learn your decay dates. It really helps to have, some friends in your pawn shops. Sometimes they buy stuff like they'll buy a PS4 Slim, which is notorious for the hard drives going out. They kill out at 9% health. If you don't know how to check the hard drives, download it. It's a free program. I use HD Sentinel. It's free. Just like WinRAR, they give you the option to buy it, but no one does. But just take out the hard drive, pop it in, and check the health. If the health is bad, like for me, if the health is under 98%, I switch it out. It's not worth it having a customer come back, because I have customers come in. I live in Louisiana. I have customers come in from Texas, from Mississippi on the weekends, on Saturday, to have them trek all the way back just to return something for warranty, and then I feel bad, and I got to give them a game or something, or give them a discount on their next, purchase. I just don't want to have to deal with warranties. I hate doing warranties. That's where that comes from, as far as my quality control. But yeah, learn how to read your decay dates, and trading is a big thing. So what I like to do whenever I'm purchasing stuff from people, I like to give. I like to set myself above Second and Charles, and definitely above GameStop. Shots are fired. I don't care. It is what it is. I give my people 50%. That's 50% of sell value. So if something sells for $100, I give them $50. So I like to give them more in-store credit versus cash out. And then obviously you want to have a paper trail for everything, document everything to give to your CPA. But yeah, that model, people love that. They're like, dude, you're not ripping us off. We feel great about this, and they always come back. So give them 50% of value, and it seems like it might hurt, but it doesn't because they're coming back every time. And as long as you make your customer happy, dude, you're not going to have any problems.
I think 50% is a bit high. Definitely, well, for like consoles, that's not bad. That's actually kind of standard. But for games, you're gonna pay out way too much money, and you're gonna have your import export isn't gonna make sense if you're not a super busy location. So for people that are just looking to start out, like it's a good way to fill your shelves, but don't overspend.
Yeah.
Don't overspend. Just pay more than GameStop. Period. Like if you're less than GameStop, everyone's gonna think that you're trash because I mean it's a meme to dunk on GameStop. I'm gonna link in the chat a website that I use. It's called Price Charting. If
Yes.
you're not familiar with it, it's
Yeah.
it's great for video games. Don't use it for cards, but it's great for video games. You can look up any game. If you pay for a membership, which I think is like $20 a month, it even gives you suggested buy and sell prices. So it'll tell you what it's selling for on average on like eBay, Amazon, GameStop, all that. But then if you pay for the membership, it also gives you a breakdown of if you're a game store, you should pay this much money and you should sell it for this much money. So it's a really great tool if you're just getting into video games or you don't want to go into like a video game point of sale system. It's one of my favorite tools when I first started out before I upgraded to a POS that has that integrated and a lot more tools to help run the business. And pawn shops, like Spooky was saying, is super super helpful. A lot of times they're paying 10% of resale value, and they're selling it for like 60 to 70% of resale value. So you can walk in, buy it for their full price, and then sell it in your store. And it might be comparable to what you're already paying. I do that with some local pawn shops myself. It's a great resource, especially to start out. And then, the more you do business with them, the more they're likely to cut you a deal.
So yeah, I was actually going to throw that in there too. We buy coming up probably within the next 2 or 3 days. I'm going to go to every pawn shop in my area, and I literally purchase every single video game console that they have. We have like 7 or 8, and I probably will spend 20 grand ish, and I will buy every single video game console that they have, and I will mark it up for more than what they're going to sell it for on any given day. And they, they're in the business to flip quick. If it sits on my shelf until the end of December, I'm totally okay with that, because I'm going to make $150 off of selling something. People in my area are selling PlayStation 4s for like $70, and I can easily sell that for 200 plus. And people don't care. We do include one controller and cords. And then, I don't really do a ton with games just because I got into a bad spot a long time ago, and I bought every game that I possibly could and ended up with 7 million copies of NFL 2K17. Like I had so many of just the junk games that I was only paying $1 for them, but I couldn't even sell them for $1.25 because who wants it? And I used to also own a video game store where we would have customers come in and actually play our video games, which was really cool. But we just had so many video games just sitting on our shelves, and we couldn't sell them ever. And nobody played them either. Who wants to play 2K17 when 2K24 just came out? It's the same game, just with the newer people, right? So that's like a huge thing, is like anybody who wants to get into buying video games, just don't buy sports titles. Like, just don't. It's never going to be worth it for you at the end of the day. Even the new ones that are just coming out, don't buy them, because they're going to sit on your shelf. If they sit on your shelf for 6 months, they're already outdated. Um, unless it's retro stuff. We do buy some retro sports titles, but that's only, very specific ones. Um, but retro has done way more for us than new gen consoles, for sure. I think right now I have like 12 or something Nintendo 64s that will probably sell by the end of the year, for sure. They move very quickly. Who doesn't want a 64? If you're, my age, 35-ish, you had a 64 when you were a kid, and you just want to play it again. You don't even want to play the thing again. You just want it in your house, right? You don't even give a shit. You just literally want it inside your house to say that you still have one. And there's so many video games that are for that console and the GameCube that people just want to have. They don't want to play it. They might put it in their system one time, turn it on, and be like, oh, God, I remember this opening thing. And then they put it in a drawer and they never played again. And the retro stuff's been huge for us.
Yeah, retro, especially Nintendo stuff. Any Nintendo, anything from any point of time, from the original NES to the Switch, buy it, stock it, sell it. It'll sell. If you look in Spooky's background, he's got a 64 on his table with an expansion pack sitting there. but, but yeah, Nintendo's great. Retro's great. I disagree with not stocking any sports. You should have one or two copies of every year of sports game if it walks in, but pay what it's worth, which is nothing. Like, give them 25 cents, 50 cents for a sports game. Don't pay well for it. It's going to sit forever, but you will have kids, especially. I sell cheap, couple dollar sports games to kids constantly because they can get a game for $5. They can get a game for $3 and they don't care. They just want a game. But do not stock 30 copies. There is no game on the planet you should stock 30 copies of, in my opinion. Inventory control is super important. Carl definitely seems to be speaking from, some great experience. Buying from pawn shops, you're removing a competitor because someone won't be able to buy it from them. You're getting a good deal for it, and if it sits for a while, oh well, it'll sell eventually. It does nothing but help your business. So, Carl had a lot of really great points.
Yeah. So I agree with you, and I agree with Carl. But okay, so if we rewind time before this new NCAA just dropped, if we rewind time before that period, if you were to get a copy of NCAA 14 on either the Xbox 360 or the PS3, that was worth $80.
Okay.
$120 at one point in time, only because it was the last NCAA that came out. So sports games, they do hit. Tecmo Bowl, that thing hits for the NES. So it's really case by case. Like if you get like an NCAA 2012, yeah, it's shovelware all day. But if you have someone that got that for Christmas back in the day, and that's their whole reason for purchasing a game console, you better have it on deck. Because you can miss out on a wholesale. The only thing you should be worried about is them not going to your competition. So if you don't give them options, then they're gonna go elsewhere. They're gonna look elsewhere. So I feel like you need to have everything on deck. Don't be prejudiced at games. I guess what we do is whenever we get them in, we look them up. We look them up on eBay. We get like an average of what they cost, and then we factor in how much shipping is, and then we also factor in a convenience fee. Like they don't have to wait for it. They don't have to pay shipping. And then, they're getting it right then and there. So you also need to think about those things. Also, we take in loosies. We call them loosies. They're loose disc. They're not CIB, which is complete in box. There's no manuals. Those things, there's levels to value on video games. So if you get a loosie, you need to have a basket like we do in the front, and have one basket per console. So the Xbox 360s, they all have their loosies. They're all one, like not one price, but they all have their price. And then if they're CIB of that same title, that has a little bit higher price. If they're sealed, absolutely, you need to send them off to Wada Games. And I know a lot of people don't like this, but you need to get them graded, because I went to believe this or not, I love the story. So I went to a Goodwill in my area. I got a Need for Speed Underground 2 copy for the PS2. It was sealed brand new. The cellophane was beautiful. I sent it off to Wada Games. By the way, I got it for $3 at my local Goodwill. $3. I sent it off to Wada Games. I had them grade it for $80. So $83 was my total investment. And then whenever I got it back, I put it up on eBay and it sold for 600. Not even shitting. So it's worth it with sealed games, especially retro games that are sealed. If you have Super Nintendo games, buy them, yeah. But if they have the box with the papers inside, like all the manuals and stuff, you're sitting on something. You also need to start registering for like local conventions in your area. If you feel like you have a bunch of shovelware and you don't think they're going to sell, then you're wrong. You need to just pay the little fee or whatever to get you a little booth at the your local convention. And I promise you, you're going to be surprised at what people are going to buy.
For those of you who don't know what shovelware means, it's like bulk, cheap, cruddy games, the dollar bin level games, in case you don't know the term.
Another thing that I would add to that is what we realized really quickly was I've been doing phones for 22 years. Like we were doing Casio boulders back in the day, and I didn't know. I'm a video game person. I love video games, but I didn't know how in depth video games got compared to like your normal cell phone repair store. And the amount of fake video games that are on the market is so high that you honestly will not be able to tell the difference unless you are staring at video games all day. The Nintendo Eye is supposed to be a square. Sometimes you can get a game it's a circle and you don't even know that that's a fake game. And then you sell it to some guy and the guy knows it's a fake. And then he comes back because he's pissed because you sold him a fake game and you don't know, and all of this stuff. So just like with anything, you need to be like on point, even more so when it comes to collectible items, because people are collecting these to put in a box and never play. And if you think you have a gold mine sitting there, you might not. Clay Fighter Sculptor Cut, that game is worth like 10 grand right now. And there's like, probably 50 copies that are in really good condition out there. And if you find one of these copies, the chances of it being real, pretty slim. But somebody is going to see that and be like, oh my gosh, you have that. I'm going to buy it. And they're going to get a fake copy. And, then you're in a huge different ball game when it comes to selling fake shit.
Right. With the fakes, I'm curious, is this like, how are they like bad fakes, right? Like how do you know once you get the game? Is it just obvious? Like you get a fake iPhone, right? And you know it's running Android. You could tell once you start using it. Like
it's really hard to tell a fake game because most of the time it's just an emulator. For most people, the only way that they're gonna know is if they open up the case of the game and they see a board that looks like it's from 2020 versus a board that looks like it's from 1984, right? Like that is probably the biggest thing. Is the game's going to play fine. For anybody who wants to play the game, it's probably going to play fine. But it's the people that want to collect it and have that thing to hand down to their kids, that's where it comes into play, where they're like, oh, I spent $80 on this brand new Banjo-Kazooie game, and I could have bought it off of AliExpress for $4.99.
Yeah.
In the chat, I just sent a really good link on how to identify fakes. There are some that are really, really good. And there are some that are pretty obvious if you just know what you're looking at. But yeah, there are fakes are getting better and better as we go. But in the chat, I just linked a really good article that shows pictures, comparisons, and it's pretty good for spotting fakes if you've never interacted with this before.
So my one of my methods to identify fakes, primarily with Nintendo, is if you look on the back label here. Well, actually, I'll just start here. At the label, like with the labels, if they're too shiny, then that's probably a really big indicator. And then on the back label, what I've witnessed is there's going to be like a stamp. Like there's not going to be any paint on the stamp. It's going to be like indented in the label itself. But this thing right here is going to be your best friend. You need to get a screwdriver that's going to fit. So if you kind of like with the plastic, the plastic you can tell it's real light and it's thin. If it's a fake, but if still you kind of have that inkling, then get you one of these screwdrivers and open it up and expose that board. So if you don't have some old school looking like ICs here, then you more than likely you're going to have a fake on your hands. And I don't even know what you would do with it, but definitely do not try to pass it off as being an OG, especially if you have an eBay account and you're an eBay reseller, because that can definitely affect your resale score.
For handheld games like Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance, there's actually a really cool thing. It's called the GB operator. It's like $50. You plug it into your PC, and it'll tell you if the game's fake. And I've never had it miscall. So it'll identify fakes for you. It'll test to make sure the game can save if you need to replace the battery. It saves a lot of time if you can't just eyeball it. But yeah, everything Spooky just said about identifying, like especially like a 64 game, is spot on.
So are these people coming in to purposely defraud you, or do they just have product that they think is good? And
most people are ignorant. They're not.
I was just gonna say it's probably both, honestly. Like the amount, just like when somebody tries to sell you a phone, most people are just like, "Well, I bought this for $40 on Facebook Marketplace, and it's an iPhone 15." They definitely thought it was an iPhone 15 and spent $40 on a fake phone. I mean, it's the exact same scenario. I do have some very tweaker people that will come in with very fake things, and I know right away that I'm not spending any money on it.
Just like phones, you gotta vet your client to make sure they're not trying to take advantage.
Also, I gotta say this for the people that are thinking about getting into video games. If you're going into video games, I got two things to say right now. So if you're thinking about doing the whole video game thing, the first thing, you're gonna definitely have to do your homework, and you will have to know what you're talking about. Spotting the fakes, know how to identify a console that's gonna need more work. So you need to think about how much work is ahead of me to get this thing prepped for resale. So you gotta base, how much work you have ahead of you, and think about how much you're gonna be charging for this fresh new console that's out there for sale. So definitely think about the work that you had to have ahead of you. And then the second thing, don't get EverDrives and sell them in your shop. Do not. What an EverDrive is, so I have an N64 game right here. So instead of Conker's Bad Fur Day, this is a Fugazi, but instead of Conker's Bad Fur Day, you're going to have it's going to say N64 EverDrive, and it's got the entire N64 library on just this one cartridge, right? That sounds great. If you sell it for $50, you make $50. You paid probably $20, $30 from AliExpress. Now, that sounds great. It sounds like a big rainbow and all that stuff. But if any kind of law enforcement comes into your shop, you definitely do not want to be caught with your pants down, because they will charge you for every title on that damn cartridge. So
It's illegal.
It's very illegal. People try to chalk it up as, oh, it's my game, I bought it. These are backups. Not when you're trying to resell them. So don't get caught with your pants down. Don't go into this, trying to make a quick buck. There's a lot of hard work that goes into it. a lot of research you have to do, a lot of hours that you put into these game consoles. You don't want to throw it away by trying to make a quick buck and trying to sell EverDrives and all this stuff, man. Just don't cheat yourself, don't cheat your customer, and you're going to be just fine. Just do right by people, and you're going to do great. The universe will see it as such.
You also lose a customer for life when you sell them an EverDrive because they'll never buy another 64 game from you. Like there's just no benefit to selling an illegal fake. You carry all the risk for nothing, for losing a customer.
With all that said as well, I think adding to that is most people in here are cell phone owners, cell phone repair owners, or whatever. And this might be their next side thing, but so much more time goes into video games, in my opinion, than the cell phone world. Because you have, like, most shops probably sell iPhones and Samsungs. And repair mostly iPhones and Samsungs. I mean, I'm sure everybody else does a couple Motorola's or whatever, but most of the repair shops in the United States are doing Samsungs and iPhones. When you get into video games, you don't just have video game consoles. You have every single video game that goes with those consoles. And some video games are worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and you will have no idea unless you're doing your research. Some video games are worth pennies. There's a Nintendo Switch game, Super Mario 3D All Stars. It's going for like $80 because Nintendo just decided to quit selling it. That's the only reason. They just one day decided, I don't think we're going to sell this anymore. So now it's worth a lot more money than really it's a terrible, I mean, it's not a great game. It's a shitty game, honestly. But it's worth money because Nintendo pulled it off the market. And it's only going to keep going up in price because you can't buy it anymore. It's the same thing with like the Note 7, right? Like as soon as Samsung quit selling the Note 7, everybody's like, oh my God, this phone's worth $1 million now. And so a lot of time, I would say when we first started doing video game stuff, I probably spent like 3 months just diving into what are video games worth, what are consoles worth, does it make sense to have retro stuff, does it make sense to only have new stuff. We've really settled on mostly retro stuff, but I have a really, really, really good overseas seller who sells me Japanese Nintendo 64s for super cheap. The great thing about the Nintendo 64 is it technically was region locked, but it's because of two pieces of plastic that can easily be removed. And so you can play a Japanese Nintendo 64 in the United States with a United States game, and it plays perfectly fine. Nobody will ever know the difference except for the sticker on the bottom that is in Japanese. And again, most people aren't going to care because they're going to play their video game or they're just going to put it in their closet. I think I have 5 Nintendo 64s behind me in my house for no other reason than I want them.
Carl, you said something. I was just going to chime in for a brief second. You said the old games. One of my favorites is the Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. They're like $100 now.
I have a copy.
Of it. And dude, I'm so pissed because so my parents actually bought me one when I was a kid originally, and one day came home from school and it was gone. And I was like, hey, where is it? My oldest brother went, well, I needed money for something, so I sold it. So
what a great older brother.
Oh, that's Carl, we don't have enough time.
To build on what Carl was saying, the knowledge is important, but I don't want people to get too afraid that you have to be an expert in every video game on the market to be able to sell them. Because I don't think that's what he was trying to say. You need to learn how to identify fakes, which I sent an article in the chat to help you learn how to do that. I'm sure there's tons of great YouTube videos, and I'm sure you can reach out to any of us on this chat. You need you need to either do the research yourself or you need a software to do it for you. That's why I like price charting or like my point of sale, someone asked earlier. I use grindless POS. But having some kind of software to do the research for you to say, hey, this game, it sells for this price. and then you can, use that to be able to figure out what you want to pay for it. Getting a good software to help you is honestly, in my opinion, key. It's as important as being able to identify fakes. Is just you don't have the time to research every single game you have. Especially, like I have 3 game stores. I have well over 1,000 SKUs at each store. I don't know 10% of the games on my shelf. I don't need to. I need my software to be able to tell me this game's worth $10. You should pay 5, or you should, so it's, that's my 2 cents. Also, if you need third-party like cords and controllers, because sometimes people will bring stuff in that doesn't have it. There's a lot of good distributors out there. My preferred, I just sent in the group chat. I really should be paid by these people. Video Game Advantage. They sell all the cords, controllers, accessories you need for selling video game consoles. They even sell replacement cases, so if you don't want to have a bin full of loose discs on your shelf, you can get replacement cases. I've also used XYAB. XYAB is pretty nice, and their parts are really nice too. They sell repair parts for consoles. Video Game Advantage, I don't use for parts. His prices are just a bit too high. But for the accessories, they're great. The packaging is top notch. I love the way it looks on the shelf, which is why I prefer Video Game Advantage for third-party accessories. But yeah, you don't have to be an expert. Have a reliable third-party distributor for cords and controllers so you can put consoles back together if you need to. But yeah.
I would chime in real quick. I'm not a huge console guy, but it sounds like what you guys are saying is you're not trying to scare people, but you're trying to educate people that, I mean, it's kind of similar with like the phone repair guys, right? You got some guys that to this day still only do screen swaps on iPhones. They don't even touch Samsungs, right? They're afraid. I'm like, it's funny. It's actually an easier repair. And so I think it's a similar concept. If you're going to go into anything, I mean, just do it well, right? You have to be well-rounded. You can't just half-ass it, basically.
Right.
And
You're
that's
not,
just
you're not throwing candy on the shelf and having it sell itself. It's not a self-seller, but you need some knowledge, but you don't have to be an expert.
And I will say, so as Tony was, well, now there's 2 Tonys. As Tony was saying about grindless, so we actually used grindless in our video game
Please
store.
refer to me as Tony number 1.
Oh, there's 3
that
Tonys
guy's
now.
number
Jesus,
2.
there's too many Tonys.
There's too many Tonys. I get it.
But yeah, so we used grindless, and we actually integrated price charting into our grindless. So if we did buy a video game, it would tell us instantly like what video games were supposed to be sold for when a customer would just come in. And I don't know how many of you guys buy cell phones, but I would assume, I hope most of you guys do go through a test of it's like, look at all of these points, and this is deeming it to be a good, ready to sell cell phone. With video games, if you don't have a console on hand, you can't test that game. So you have to have a stock of consoles just to test games to see if they're going to work. And then you have the notorious 64, which half the time the games don't play because somebody spit a loogie into it, and you got to clean all that nasty stuff out. So you sell that game to somebody and they come back and they're like, well, it didn't work. And then you can test it in your console, and no, it does work. You just need to not spit inside your games. And so, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. Like I said, with grindless, we used it. It was great. Integrating with price charting was awesome. That's a point of sale system that does everything for you. I could go into it not knowing dick about video games, and it literally would tell me everything as long as I just have it set up correctly.
It legit does most of your job for you. It's nice.
Yeah. And as Tony said a little bit ago, having 1,000 SKUs for wrong Tony, having 1,000 SKUs in a video game store isn't a lot. Like when we had our video game store, we had well over 1,000 SKUs, but it's all every single video game is a different SKU. Whereas, you sell one iPhone charger and they're just an iPhone charger. So that is another thing, is like it sounds intimidating, but it's really not once you get into it. And as Spooky said, or Steve said, you have complete inbox games, you have loose games, you have games that just have the case. All three of those can be three separate prices for the exact same item based on what you're getting. And the person that wants to collect it, they want the complete inbox. The person who just wants to play it, they're cool spending $10 less to give to just the disc or whatever. So like I said, it is very overwhelming at times, but once you dive into it, you can make more money in a video game store than you can a cell phone store, in my opinion. Just based on the collectible factor of it.
It's more work, but it is more money.
Do you need a lot of space?
Yes.
Okay. A lot
Yes.
of shelf space.
Yeah.
You got to be creative with your staging methods and stuff like that. But just to piggyback off of what Carl was saying about so you're gonna have to sacrifice at least one of every console for just dedicated as your tester. The best thing I can say is if you're gonna get into retro gaming, just invest the 60 to 80 bucks into what's called a Retron console, and that has a slot for N64. It has a slot for Sega Genesis, one for regular NES, and then another one for Super Nintendo. So that's 4 game consoles that you wouldn't have to sacrifice, that you can turn around and sell. And if you just have the Retron, that's got the slots for all of them. So that takes care of 4 of them off the bat. Get you a really crappy PS3, definitely an Xbox 360, and just set them off to the side. So that way, when someone brings you a whole stack of games, then you can just pop them in and test them out. But yeah, definitely every week we do like an inventory scrub on everything on our floor, and we go through and we check the price on everything. So you don't want 2 things to happen. You don't want to be known as the game shop that has really high prices for no reason because you didn't go and check, this title and it might have dropped in price. Whereas your competition may have already been on top of their inventory and they've already dropped their price due to the market as it fluctuates. So you definitely don't want to shoot yourself in the foot and have something that spiked in value overnight. So you don't want to let something like that go for $10 when it spiked up to 40, maybe $60. So definitely
I have a so I have a story about that. What was it? Probably like 8 months ago when Deadpool Wolverine came out. The Deadpool 360 copy, specifically the 360 copy, shot up in price so much overnight. I think it went from like you could normally buy it for like $10 to it was selling on eBay for like $500.
Well, let's look at what happened 2 days ago with the Piglet game. Literally,
yeah, I mean,
from Winnie the Pooh was $10, and a TikTok went viral about the spooky music in one of the levels, and it's $150 now, like literally from a TikTok.
And big corporations like GameStop hit those things so fast. When they see that is coming, they hit it so hard and so fast. But with that said, they're still gonna buy it from you for $6. Because it's a $10 game. Because eventually that game is going to drop in value again. Because now Deadpool on 360 is back down to like $20. And if GameStop would have purchased all of those for $100, they'd be losing their ass right now. So as Steve was saying, doing an inventory scrub is a huge thing. Because you don't want to have a game that is NBA 2K17 that you have for $20 because you haven't ever looked at the sticker, but that Deadpool game or the Piglet game, or whatever that just jumps up overnight, you want to sell those for what they're worth, not what it used to be worth.
Which is also why software is important. Like we use Carl and I use Grindless, and the system does that for you. It literally will do a price update, and then it tells you to print the sticker. You print the stickers, you walk over, and you slap the new price tag on it. one big thing that Spooky and I think Carl too was saying is testing all your games. I don't think testing every single game that walks in the door is necessary. There are two main ways you can tell if a game works aside from a disc game. Let's start with disc games. If there's scratches on the bottom, the laser can't shoot through, it won't read, you have to resurface it. But if there is any top damage, the laser will go through the disc, cannot reflect, cannot read, the disc is dead. There are a couple exceptions to that rule, but a good rule of thumb that I use is if there's any top damage at all, disc is dead, I don't buy it, it's not going to work. One of the easiest ways to see that is you take a lamp or a flashlight, you hold the disc up where the art is facing the light, and if you can see clear light coming through, then you know that there is top damage and the disc is dead. That's you cannot fix that. It cannot be buffed. The disc is dead. You do not need to test every single game that walks in the door. I would be working on a trade from 2 weeks ago if I put every single game into a console. What I normally do is I check to see if they're real. I check to see if it's a disc, if it needs to be buffed or has any top damage. And then if it's worth over a certain dollar amount, then I test. I am a fan of having a console to test games to make sure that they work if it's worth over a certain amount. I have not even one return a month on average. And I have 3 locations, and the one return is between the 3. It's very rare I ever have any returns for games not working, and when I do, I swap them out. I take care of them right away. It's not a good interaction by any means, but it's not a terrible one either. You're going to spend your whole time testing every game if you're putting every single game in a console. So if you're, a solo operation or it's just, you and one employee, I don't recommend testing every single game. I normally have like a $50 to $60 like, okay, is this thing, you know, worth a bunch of money or is, maybe $100 for a cartridge game. But if you're going to sit there and test, Madden 10, you're literally spending more time and more money testing it than you're going to get out of the game.
Yeah, just like Tony GG said, if you see that clear light come through, that disc is dead 100 damn percent. But if they have the box with it, go ahead and buy it because you can take your Lucy's. If you have a Lucy at the same title, you can pair them up and then put it on the shelf and sell it for more. So
offer a bulk price for loose cases. Be like, hey, this game is dead. I'll give you a bulk price for the case itself. Yeah, that's a good way to do things.
Yeah, if I got the and all the manuals and stuff, I'm gonna buy it anyway because I know later on I'm gonna get some Lucy's and I can mate them up. And,
Carl mentioned GameStop. He had me thinking. Did any of you guys open up a game store next to a GameStop? Has that negatively impacted your relationship with them?
They have a non-compete clause in all of their leases. You can't open up, or the landlord cannot rent to a video game reseller within the same shopping center as a GameStop.
So
yeah, more
that
like
is true, except for I have a cell phone repair store that happens to sell video games.
Hey.
inside of a mall. We're inside of a mall across the hallway from GameStop, and we steal every single one of their customers. I do not know how this GameStop is still operating. They have nothing in their store. I'm pretty sure the manager walks around without a shirt on because he can't afford one. I don't know how they're still operating. So yes, it has helped me tremendously because this GameStop is made of actual shit. If you have a really good performing GameStop, which there's like maybe 3 in the entire world, then yeah, it could negatively impact you. But I honestly don't think GameStop is a true competitor because of their business practices.
If you're not doing new games, they're not a competitor. They're your greatest referral hub because they suck. The employees hate their job. The prices are terrible. GameStop is your best friend if you're not doing like brand new sealed games. If you're trying to do brand new sealed games, you're competing with them and you're going to lose. But
100%. The amount of time and money that it takes to get into the the distribution of brand new video games is not worth your headache unless that is the only thing you want to focus on. We tried to do some distribution with like Activision and stuff like that, but they want you to buy 500 copies of a single game. And for a one location, or even as Tony GG said, a three location, you're not selling 500 copies. It you just, I mean, if unless it is a very sought after game.
I mean,
Tony,
Uh,
correct.
that owns just a cell phone repair store. There's people that their whole thing to get more business is they go around to all the carrier stores and they bring them like donuts from Dunkin' Donuts or whatever like that and hand them a stack of business cards. So what we have done is we've done the same thing to our local GameStops, and they actually are now referring people to us for repairs, 100% for repairs. And then once you can get them in the door for a repair, then they're going to see your selection, and then it's just game over, pun intended.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
what I was about though was like if you guys have like let's say someone, I don't know if you have a relationship with a GameStop that sends you repairs because like we have one that they actually get a decent amount of HDMIs and stuff. They get repairs and they don't do them, they just refer them our way. So I'm curious to see like what, so if you were to piss them off, then they would probably, if you have a good relationship, like if you actually do a decent amount of work with them, then that's something to consider. They'll probably not be happy with you. And
Right. If
potentially,
their district leaders or corporate finds out that they're referring anything to you, they get in trouble. They're not even supposed to refer to just like cell phone stores, but most of the employees don't care. And a lot of local managers, if you get in good with them, they'll send them to you anyways. I've had on and off great relationships with GameStop in my town, and it's all dependent on the current general manager, which they replace every 6 months. But they're not allowed to. Corporate will punish them for referring out. They can't put up like rat cards or any official referrals, and they can get in trouble for that, and they will get in trouble if corporate finds out. But most of them, they don't care, and they'll just help you if you're nice to them. I went and I dropped off, and one great tactic to do is get some gift cards for your own store, especially if you sell video games, and just give them to the GameStop staff. Just be like, hey, you guys have sent me some business. I really appreciate it. Here's some free video games from me. I did. GameStops don't have a lot of staff. I think most of them have like 5 employees on average. I made $50 gift cards, and I handed them out at Christmas to the GameStop staff. And I had the manager come up to me, and they're like, "This is the largest incentive I've received since I was hired at GameStop." And I'm like, "Aren't you the general manager?" "Yes." And I'm like, "What the hell?" And they ended up applying for a job and coming to work for me. But give them a little kindness, and who you're competing with to earn their love and their loyalty is someone who hates them and doesn't treat them well. So it's really easy to just bring them some food, bring them some gift cards, and they'll send you business when their boss isn't looking.
And the same goes for anybody who does any type of soldering. The amount of people in the cell phone world that do soldering versus the amount of people in the video game world that do soldering is night and day. So, like I would say, we have a like a mom and pop version of GameStop in town. It's called Rock 30. They're actually pretty big. They do more business than any other GameStop competitor around us for sure. But they don't do any repairs locally. All the repairs that they do, they need to send like 7 hours away. So we, as a cell phone store, do a whole bunch of soldering, and now they're sending all of their soldering jobs to us. So, like Tony asked, is it a good idea, or have I gotten a lot of business from GameStop or others? Yeah, I definitely have. The great thing about it is I'm in a town of 200 and some thousand people, so it's not a huge town, but we have nobody else to do that type of repair. I am the only even cell phone repair place in town that does soldering. Other places claim to do it, and then they just bring it to me anyway. So I'm getting the business no matter what. I see Tony just messaged Josh. I was just gonna say the resurfacer that we have is like super expensive. You definitely don't need a super expensive one. I think I bought it maybe 10 years ago. Um,
The Elm.
yes,
Yeah, that's
it's
my
a
next comment.
yeah, it's a super great one. It works wonderful. You don't need it.
Right. So, Josh had said in the chat how many disk resurfacing machines we have and which ones are good. I recommended three in total. The first one, which is budget, is the JFJ Easy Pro. It's not great. It's really basic. It'll get you by. It's what like every garage sale guy is using, every eBay flipper is using. They're not great, but they work. The really good one is the Elm USA AutoSmart. You'll never need to replace the device. You will have to, maintenance it every here and there, but you'll never need another disk buffer. And then a few people who are absolutely crazy will use the EcoMaster, which buffs 50 games in a row. You set them, you walk away, and it buffs 50 of them. It's worth more than my car. Most of you won't buy that or ever need to buy that. But the AutoSmart, which is really good, you can buff any game, GameCube, Blu-ray, any. It's still expensive. It's like 6 or 7 grand. Yeah, 7 grand. So that's what you'll upgrade to if this really takes off. But start with the JFJ, or they do have some kind of like payment plans for Elm. But those are the resurfacers I recommend, and you never need more than one resurfacer in your business. If you are massive and need multiple, then maybe grabbing a second Elm or grabbing the crazy super expensive one. But you really only need one. It takes less than a minute to buff a game.
With that said, there are some instances that buffers don't help your game. They actually hurt your game. If you have a very highly sought after game that might have a few micro scratches in it, don't resurface it, because you're literally pulling an entire layer off of that game, which most people don't want their video game buffed if it is a collectible video game. So again, that goes into just knowledge. You just have to sit and learn the stuff if you really want to do it. And I can almost guarantee you that Tony, Steve, or myself will probably answer any question that you guys have on that type of stuff. That being said, do not message me at 2 a.m. and ask me if you should resurface this game, because I will kill you. I will find you and I will kill you.
So you can tell if it's been resurfaced?
Definitely. Well, okay. Yes
Well,
and no.
a couple times.
Most of the time, yes. If it's a game that's been resurfaced multiple times, 100% you can just
Physically
see a
different.
difference. Yeah. If it's one time, maybe not. But
Okay.
also, if it is a very highly sought after game that looks perfect, the chances of it being resurfaced are very high.
I gotcha.
GameCube games can only be buffed 2 to 3 times in their lifetime. They are so small and so thin that they can only be resurfaced 2 to 3 times ever. So do not resurface a GameCube game unless you absolutely have to. And in fact, normally what I do is I don't resurface it before selling it. I'll tell the customer, hey, it looks a little beat, but GameCubes are notorious for being able to read through something that looked like it went through a grinder or a cat. If it doesn't work, bring it back. We'll resurface it for free. I explain that it can only be resurfaced a couple times. And I ask them before I sell it and hand it. And some people are like, can you just resurface it now? I don't care. And then if it doesn't work, they bring it back. No big deal. But that is the one caveat is GameCube games never buff unless you absolutely have to, because they're so darn thin.
Hey,
And
don't be cheap. Don't be cheap. Invest in yourself. Don't think that you can save money with one of
My God, no.
I thought I could save some money with this little thing right here, bro. Don't
You'd also save money walking to work.
don't do it.
As Tony said, their GameCube games are pretty robust. They really are. I have a Pokemon Coliseum game that actually has a dent in the disc and it plays just fine. So like some of those games, I would never sell that to a customer It's going to be my personal game. Plus, it's a super awesome game, and you should buy one. But that game will play perfectly fine, except for at one point in the game. If you are doing like the story mode or whatever, you get to one point in the game and it will skip. It will stop playing. I have to reload the file almost every time. So that is another thing that we were talking about earlier is, do you have to test every single game? No, but you just know that just because you test a game for 10 minutes doesn't mean the whole thing's going to work.
Absolutely.
So let's talk money, guys. Let's talk money.
Can I have some?
Percentage. I'm pretty sure you guys all do cell phone repairs as well.
Yep.
What percentage is the game console operation? Let's put it repairs, sales, and repairs and sales, I guess. Let's put it that way. Yeah, from your entire store income. I guess Carl, you can go first.
So that's a super loaded question, Tony. I will say that my cell phone repair business does 100% of my video game repairs. So to separate those is really hard to do, but I would say like on a given month, if my cell phone store is going to do 35 grand, I'm probably doing an extra 15,000 in video game stuff.
Are you saying your repair store and your video game store are physically separate businesses?
Yes.
Oh,
Gotcha.
okay. Oh, I did not know that. Okay. So they're totally separate businesses.
They are not combined. I do sell some video game related things in my cell phone store only because I'm across the hall from GameStop. If I wasn't across the hall from GameStop, I would probably sell no video game stuff in my store.
So let me elaborate on that. So your cell phone or your game console store fully operates under a whole different employee, different rents, and it's making it.
Yeah.
Okay, retro stores are not as likely to fail as most like most businesses, especially retail.
Because you don't have a lot of you may have a lot of competition, but if you're doing it and you like what you do and you have the knowledge and the repair like he does, I think you probably be the game console store in town. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's just the go-to.
For us,
and
we're probably like
go Russ.
85-90% of our stuff is game consoles because the name of the business is Game and Repair. And we actually have a little bit of a different take on ours because we actually do sell new games along with all the retro. We started off just retro, but what we found is that by stocking new games, even though you're only making 10 to 15 bucks a pop on them, you get a ton of trade-ins and a lot more repairs. So it's kind of like the lost leader for us. It's a little more capital intensive because you have to stock all those brand new games.
Do you do anything online, Ross, or everything is in store?
Mostly, right now it's about 50-50. Last year it was mainly online. The area that we were in only had maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people. I'm at a hardware store because we're moving to a much busier, high traffic location this week. Like that's what we're working on right now is painting and getting set up. But that's been our go for, and our revenue hasn't been anything crazy. But to be honest with you, I only work like an hour a week at the shop because I have my software company. So it averages about 25 to 26, somewhere in there, 1,000 a month.
Where do you source your sealed games?
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Where do you source your sealed games?
I am getting them from wholesalevideogames.com. And the guy's pretty cool dude. We mainly only are stocking Switch games new because a lot of the other stuff people just download it. It seems like for physical media, Switch games tend to do a little better. But something's really weird that happened is when we started selling Switch games, our plush sales went through the roof and our Pokemon cards went through the roof. And it was like there's something about that customer demographic where as they're walking in for the video game, they're buying all that other crap too.
Right.
And controllers, we stock XYAB controllers, and we have just sold so many XYAB controllers in the last month. It's been crazy.
I love that they have third-party Joy-Cons. They're the only company that does.
And
Yeah.
they're the only ones that do that are actually good.
Yeah, they're
Like
phenomenal. Yeah.
you can find some real shit on
Yeah,
Amazon.
yeah. You can go on Amazon or Alibaba and regret, lighting your money on fire.
It actually makes a lot of
Tony one, what was your question? I interrupted you. I apologize.
No, you're good.
that's the
Oh,
wrong.
I was asking
Oh,
if
sorry, Tony two.
Yeah,
oh, that was 22. I'm 21. Okay.
Hi.
It's okay. I love you, Tony. I'm gonna call you Ty from now on. That's it. Ty. That's
man.
it. Okay, Ty. So Ross, your store, does it open during the whole week, or you say you go an hour a week?
Yeah, no, so we've got staff there. So we're open Monday through Saturday. Our normal hours are 10 to 5:30, but we're actually going to be changing that. We're going to be doing like an 11 to 8 as we move here. So one
And
thing
you
that's
said
kind of
your
nice.
online sales 50/50 or so. Does that mean your actual sales are processed online, or is it just advertising on platforms and bring them in indoors?
So it was funny. We had our store we were using Shopify point of sale, and I was using Chatix.ai for blogging, and I hooked it up to our GMB, and I had our products listing. So like every video game that we got, we would put it in the system, which creates a page, which actually, because you have so many products attached to your GMB listing, makes you rank really, really quickly for marketing. So there's just a lot of benefits to it. And we were crushing it on Shopify organically just with SEO. And then I hired someone that she's a great employee. It's my fault that I didn't train her well enough, I guess. And she put like, I don't even know, 600 products in the system with no pictures. And it killed our website. I'm like, why are our website sales down? And I look on our website and like, there's no photos of anything. I'm like, what in the world happened? I found out she just didn't list them. So it ended up prompting us to move to Square anyways. So we're using Square for our point of sale and moving into WordPress, and we can integrate our WordPress with Square. So our website sales have died a little bit. Most of our stuff is coming through Macari right now. Macari and eBay, those not even our Shopify. Nice thing about Macari is they don't have any seller fees like eBay does. So it's hard to, they pass that on to the end user. But that's why our sales for the online stuff died a little bit. We were actually having some months where we were getting close to like 40,000 last month or last year
And that's only
because of having
game.
shop.
That's game consoles only. No cell phones or.
We actually push away cell phone crap. Like I don't like the customers. They're rushing. Everything's urgent. Got to have it now. The iPhone screens are so unstable. It's like it's just not worth it. If I can do and what's kind of what I found, because we have a CPR about 20 minutes away and a U break I fixed 20 minutes the other way. If I just turn things down when people call, they start sending things to me. So I'm probably for every iPad or iPhone I send their way, I get like 3 or 4 HDMI repairs. And it's just so much more profitable. I used to own a cell phone repair shop. We just like want nothing to do with
So
that stuff
CPR
anymore.
is turning away game consoles.
Yep, they sure are. Yeah, they're real nice guys, and they don't do they don't they're like I'll literally walk in there and they even send me their iPad repair for charge ports.
Oh my
Like
god.
they don't even do the charge ports for the iPads.
Listen,
Don't
they
say
all
don't
of
say where you at. Don't say where you at.
them.
They don't do Apple.
So another good thing that Ross just said about Mercari is we used to use Mercari a lot, and what I really like about Mercari is they only have a 3-day warranty. Not saying that I'm not going to warranty things for longer than 3 days, but if I just have a real shithead customer that buys something knowing that it's an older game or something like that, and they request a refund after 2 months, probably means they beat the game or whatever, they can't get the money back. Because Macari, like I said, only has a 3-day warranty. That's like a huge thing that I learned because coming from the cell phone world, I give a year warranty on any phone that I sell. Well, I can't give a warranty on a video game if they simply just don't like it, because them not liking it means they beat the game and they just don't need it anymore. And we were refunding stuff like 2 weeks later. And I was like, nah, we can't do this anymore. These people are definitely playing, beating, and then just wanting a new game.
Are you guys by chance using Whatnot at all? Because I sell so much loose crap on Whatnot, and I also buy so many new games on Whatnot just so cheap. Like I just sit there on the toilet at night with price charting open on my phone on one side, Whatnot in the corner, and as the game pops up, I throw it in price charting. And if it's like, I'll offer like a third of what the value of whatever that game is, I'll put that on there. And we're just of used games and new games through Whatnot. It's been incredible.
Whatnot,
So,
I feel like is kind of degrading as a platform. We were one of the first video game sellers on the platform. It did really well for us for quite a while. And in fact, I started having inventory issues in store because we were selling just too much of it on Whatnot. And it's still a great place to get inventory. I can't believe none of us thought of that earlier when we were talking about where we source things. Yeah, Whatnot is great for buying. For selling, I feel like it's really degrading. They built the platform on giveaways, free stuff, free stuff, free stuff. And if you're not constantly giving away free stuff, you don't have good turnouts anymore. And a lot of people are coming in to grab the free thing and then not buying anything. We have some pretty like loyal regulars who come to like all of our shows and buy things, but we're seeing a lot less total people in the shows. We've experimented with the time and day. If you're looking to get rid of things quick, if they're Nintendo, absolutely do a Whatnot show and you'll sell 100% of it. You won't sell much anything from Sony or Microsoft. You're not going to sell very well on Whatnot. But Nintendo, they eat that stuff up. But Nintendo's not hard to sell no matter where you are, in my opinion.
I was just
I
gonna
gotta
say
hop off here.
one of the thing I was gonna mention that has been working really good for me. I don't know if you guys emulate it, but if you go in some of the video game store owner groups, those guys don't do repair. And you
Yep.
can offer them just such good prices on their stick drift PS5, PS4 controllers and 12, $15. And I literally probably bought like 150 controllers in the last, I don't know, 2 months. And I'm getting them all so cheap. And then we just fix the sticks in them and we can flip them.
Right. The best video game store in a group that I've found is literally called Video Game Business Owners. I just put the link in the chat for anyone who's wanting that resource. It's a really great community like this one, but it's specifically like video game store focused. Carl, you were saying something?
Yeah. So, as we were just talking about like where we source stuff from, I don't know if this was touched. It might have happened before I jumped in, but go to garage sales. I'm like garage sales. People have their kids Nintendo, Super Nintendo that they had 25 years ago, and it's just been sitting in a box in the closet. And I don't know how many times I've gone to a garage sale just to look to see what they have for electronics in general. And I find Super Nintendos or PS1s or just rent like a Dreamcast, whatever. And most of the time they're like $20. They just want to sell the thing. They don't know what it's worth. Not saying that you shouldn't offer them more than that, but if somebody's going to try to sell me a Dreamcast for $20, I'm definitely buying that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Did you guys already talk about Sendico?
I've never heard of it. It hasn't been brought up.
Oh, dude, it is like we literally can stock like 100 Game Boy Color Advance, like keep them flushed when no one else can keep them in stock. Because you go on Sendico, you convert your US dollar into a Japanese yen. And what's nice about it is you can buy all these games and they send it to Sendico and then they consolidate it into one box and ship it to you. Because like if you just go on Mercari and go to like Mercari Japan and you try ordering their Game Boys, but like you can get Game Boys for like 25 to $40 a pop if you just are constantly looking on there and easily sell them for $80.
So it's a
But what
third
we'll do
party
is
shipping? Third party shipping
yeah,
from
well,
Japan?
Sendico, yeah, that's what the value of Sendico is like they just consolidate it all into one box for you and give it to you. And we've had just such good success keeping in inventory that way.
Nice.
Well, if anybody needs Nintendo 64s or GameCubes, I can definitely get the Japanese consoles. The Japanese GameCubes are a little different because you need to like do a resistor thing.
Yeah.
But 64s or GameCubes. Let me know because I have a guy, I think he's in Taiwan. I don't know, but he just will sell me like, I think I've talked to Steve about it a couple times, but he sent me like, I don't know, 40 64s a year ago. And he will randomly just message me and be, hey, I got all of these controllers and brand or not brand new, but like OEM N64 controllers. He'll just message me and be like, hey, I got 800 of these. Do you want half of them? And OEM controllers definitely sell better than aftermarket controllers. People
Absolutely.
like the way their sticks feel.
Dad,
It's weird. It's like a nipple. I like the real thing too.
where's my Switch?
All right, everyone. I guess Mr. Josh Moulton put me into the job of finishing this video. I guess it's 5:30. He had to walk away, so he just says, you guys can stay if you want, but you can leave if you want. I guess if everybody leaves, the Zoom will end, but you can sit here alone by yourself, Tony Ty, and no one will care. So we're okay. We can all leave Tony here and just walk away.
Hey,
I'll stay here with Tony, don't worry. But then he'll leave if it's just me and him.
By the way, if anybody is going to Midwest Gaming Classic next year, hit me up on Facebook. We can grab dinner or beer or something.
Are you paying?
yeah,
I can. I live right next to it, so.
I want to.
Very kind of you.
Oh, you guys all good? I'm
Yep.
bouncing. Whoever want to stay can stay. Like I said, I'll see you guys. Have a good weekend. Enjoy your weekend.
You too,
See you
Tony.
later, Tony.
Yeah, number
Yep.
two.
If anyone has any other questions, feel free to DM me on Facebook.
Cool.
Hey, Tony GG, real quick.
Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Appreciate it.
Thank
No
you.
worries. What was that, Spooky?
Hey, bro.